Hello students and welcome in the online session of class 8 science chapter 6 combustion and flame. This is the second video of the lesson. Now let us see which topics will be covered today. Today we'll do fire extinguishers, flame, then the structure of the flame, fuel, fuel efficiency, and burning of fuel leads to harmful products in the environment. So to remind you, here in the picture you can see there is a fire triangle shown. That means three things are needed for a fire to start. So first thing needed is the fuel, right? As you have learned already, a fuel is needed. Then oxygen supply is a must for combustion, and the third thing required is heat. So when three of these combine together, fire is caused. Okay, so now let's study first of all about the fire extinguishers. Extinguishers means the substances or the materials which are used to stop the fire. Okay, so now we have to study about fire extinguishers. So the first one is that water can be used as a fire extinguisher. Okay, as we all know that water can stop the burning fire. So water acts as a fire extinguisher. So the most common fire extinguisher around us is water, but water cannot be used for all the types of fires. Okay, so what the water does, water cools the temperature of the burning fuel. When you put water on a burning fuel, then what the water will do, water will cool that burning fuel. Okay, it will bring the temperature down, and the vapors which will come out during this process, they will also surround the fire. Okay, the vapors will surround the burning fuel, and these vapors which are surrounding now, they will cut the supply of oxygen. Fine. So we have learned three techniques in last video, that how the fire can be controlled. First thing, either to remove the burning fuel from the place, then second, to cool down its temperature, and the third thing, to cut the supply of oxygen. So water in this case is doing two things out of those three, that it cools the burning fuel, then it also, the vapors which are coming out, they cut the supply of oxygen, and hence finally the fire stops. And that is why water is used as a fire extinguisher. But if electrical equipment is on fire, water may conduct electricity and harm those trying to douse the fire. Okay, means as I said that water cannot be used for all the types of fire. Suppose an electrical equipment is on fire, then water cannot be used to stop it, because water may conduct electricity. Fine, because water is a good conductor of electricity, and if you put the water on the burning switches or burning wires, then water conducts the electricity, and it will be harmful for the person who is trying to stop the fire. Okay, so water cannot be used for the fires which are taking place in the electrical equipments. Then secondly, water is also not suitable for fires involving oil and petrol. If oil is on fire or petrol is on fire, then also water cannot be used, because water is heavier than oil. Okay, we all know that if we mix water and oil, then oil will float on water. Water is heavy. So if suppose the oil is burning, and if you put water in it, then water being heavier, it will sink below the oil. Water will go below the oil, and oil will continue burning on the top part. Okay, like suppose if this is a glass and there is oil in it, fine, and suppose it is burning. You put a matchstick in it and it is burning. Now if suppose you add water in it, so what will happen? This water will go down, because water is heavier than oil, so it will make a layer downside, and oil will remain upside, and it will continue burning. So water cannot be used to stop the fires caused by oil and petrol, as well as electrical equipments. Okay, other things, water can be used as a fire extinguisher. Then next is carbon dioxide as the fire extinguisher, CO2. So for fires which involve electrical equipments and inflammable materials like petrol, carbon dioxide is the best extinguisher. Okay, as for electrical equipments and for oil and petrol, water cannot be used. So in that case, we can use CO2 as the fire extinguisher. CO2 being heavier than oxygen. Okay, remember this. CO2 is heavier than oxygen, so it covers the fire like a blanket. When CO2 is applied on the fire, then what will happen? This CO2 being heavier than oxygen, so it will cover the complete fuel with like a blanket. It will cover the complete surface. So since the contact between the fuel and the oxygen is cut, so this CO2, what it will do, it will surround the burning fuel, and the contact between the oxygen and the fuel will cut off, and hence the fire can be controlled. Okay. It can be stored at high pressure as a liquid in cylinders. Here you can see CO2 fire extinguisher cylinders are there. So CO2 being a gas, it is pressure wise, means it is compressed, applying pressure, and it is filled in such type of cylinders, and when a gas is compressed, it converts into liquid. So in this cylinder, CO2 is present in liquid form, and as we press the nozzle, then with pressure it comes out, and again this liquid turns into a gaseous form. Okay, so by applying pressure, the CO2 gas is filled in these cylinders in the liquid format, and when released from the cylinder, CO2 expands again and cools down and help in the stopping the fire which is there in the oil, petrol or electrical equipment. So it not only forms a blanket around the fire, it also brings down the temperature of the fuel. Fine. So what it does, it surrounds, when we spray the CO2 on the burning fuel, what will happen? The CO2 will cover the whole burning fuel, and the supply of the fuel and the oxygen will cut off. And secondly, this CO2 also brings the temperature of the fuel down. That is why CO2 is an excellent fire extinguisher. Okay, it can be used for any types of fire. So it is a excellent fire extinguisher. Okay, so it is available in such type of cylinders. You might have seen in buses also, in vehicles also it is there. Then in hotels, in hospitals, everywhere you can see, at the public places you can see such type of fire extinguisher cylinders. Now next topic is flame and its structure. Okay, so you can see here the diagram of a flame. This is a flame. Okay, so the substances which vaporize during burning, they give flames. Okay, the substances which when given heat and which convert into vapors, they can only give the flames. Now all the burning fuels will not give the flames. Fine. Like if you are suppose burning a plastic, right, a polythene bag, so it will not give you the flame. Fine. So anything which vaporize, which turns into vapor state after getting heat, that material can only gives the flame out. Fine. Now for example, kerosene oil and molten wax. Okay, you can see the candles. There is a wick in the center. Okay, from which the wax, it goes up and it burns. Fine. So, and kerosene oil lamps also you have seen. So in the kerosene oil lamps, there is kerosene filled and there is a wick in the center, the thread which is carrying the kerosene up to the top part, and then the kerosene oil vaporize. When we just bring the matchstick near it, it vaporize and it catches fire and shows the flame. So anything which can vaporize on heating or on burning, that gives the flame. And example of the materials which gives the flame are kerosene oil and molten wax. Now charcoal. Charcoal is the powdered form of wood. So charcoal on the other hand does not vaporize and so does not produce a flame. Okay, charcoal burns but it does not produces a flame because it does not vaporize. So remember children, the materials, the substances which vaporize, which convert into vapor state, they can only give the flames. Other substances cannot give the flames. Now in the next slide we have to study about the structure of the flame. Okay, this flame, it has a very beautiful structure. Different layers are present in it that we have to study. In this diagram also you can see the layers. You can see a blue zone in the center here. You can see a blue zone. Okay, a blue dot is shown here. This is the blue zone. Then after the blue zone there is a dark inner zone. Then luminous region, okay, which gives the light, this region, and the outer side, last layer of the flame is the non-luminous region. So let's study about the structure in detail. So flame and its structure. So in the structure of the flame, 3 different zones are visible. Fine. So now the first one is the dark zone. Now let us find out in the diagram where is the dark zone. So this is the innermost zone of the unburnt wax vapors, and which is black in color, right here. So this one is the dark zone. Dark zone is present just at the innermost side of the flame. Okay, this part. Innermost part of the flame is black in color or dark in color, and it contains unburnt carbon particles. Fine. Unburnt carbon particles. Now from where these carbon particles are coming? CO2 is present in the air, right? So that carbon remains unburnt, and those carbon particles means that area is the unburnt carbon particles containing area, and it is dark in color. Okay, so this is the innermost zone where the unburnt material remains. Okay, unburnt material of the wax vapors. Fine. So now this molten wax is going in the wick and it is catching fire. So the unburnt wax material, which also contains carbon, that remains in this part. Unburnt material remains in this part, and that's why it is dark in color. Fine. Now next is luminous zone of flame. So you can see this one, yellow part. Okay, this middle zone. This is the innermost zone, inner side, and then we have the middle zone. So middle zone is yellowish and orangish in color, and it is also known as the luminous zone. The middle zone of the partial combustion, that is yellow in color and produces light. So this area is the area of partial combustion. Okay, in this area also there is no complete combustion. Fine. Partial combustion, half burning of the wax, and it is yellow in color and it shows light also. Okay, it produces light also, this middle zone, and it is called luminous zone as it is producing light. So it is called luminous zone of the flame. And then the last one is non-luminous zone. Non-luminous zone means it do not produces light. So it is the outer zone of the flame. Non-luminous is the outer zone of the flame, and here is present complete combustion. Okay, complete burning of the fuel occurs in this zone, and it shows a blue color. Fine. So it is the outermost zone that is faintly blue in color and undergoes complete combustion is present here. Okay, so once again I will tell you, there is a dark zone in the innermost side. Okay, this contains unburnt fuel. Here is the unburnt fuel. The fuel does not burn here completely, and so it is dark in color. And it is but natural because it is present at the innermost side. So oxygen supply is less here. And if oxygen supply is less here, that means the fuel remains unburnt. Okay, and that is why it is dark in shade. Then the second layer is the luminous zone, in which there is partial combustion, half combustion. Okay, and it produces yellow color light. Okay, and then the last one is the non-luminous zone, that is the outer zone, and this is the zone, this you can see blue color outline here. Okay, faint blue color outline is coming here, and this is the zone of complete combustion. Complete fuel gets burned here because this zone is in direct contact with oxygen. Okay, this is in direct contact with the outer oxygen, so here it is the complete combustion. Then in the inner one, in the middle one, there is partial combustion, and in the inner one there is no combustion at all. Okay, now you can realize that this innermost part, as there is no combustion here, so this is least hot. Okay, remember, this is least hot. If you put a finger in the flame in this side, no, your finger will not get burned. Okay, but don't do experiments, otherwise your parents will say ma'am has said to put the fingers in the flames, right? So this part, this central part is least hot, very less heat is present because there is no burning here. It is unburnt area. Then the middle zone, or this yellow color, it is moderately hot, means medium hotness, and the outermost zone, this is the hottest part. Okay, remember, don't get confused. The inner one, if don't think that inner one is the hottest part. Inner one, in the inner one zone, no oxygen is coming, so no combustion is taking place, and that's why it is least hot. But the outermost layer, outermost zone, there is complete supply of oxygen here, so more burning of fuel in this zone, and it is the hottest part. Okay, so this is the structure of the flame. So three zones are visible: dark zone, luminous zone, and non-luminous zone, or you can say innermost zone, middle zone, and the outermost zone. Fine, innermost is the least hot, and outermost is the hottest zone, and moderate hot is the middle zone. Fine. Now, let's move on to the next topic, that is fuel. So how can we define fuel now? Fuel is a substance which may be burned to produce considerable heat without the formation of undesirable products. Okay. So what is fuel? Fuel is that substance which when burned gives a lot of heat and light and does not produce any undesirable products. Does not produce such products which are not useful for us. Fine. So in simple language, you can say fuel is a substance which when burned gives us light and heat. And when a fuel burns completely, it gives a blue flame, right? If you can see in your gas also. Okay, the burners which we use at home for cooking. So when we light the burners, it gives blue flame. Okay, because there is complete combustion of the fuel and it shows blue flame over there. Okay, so that's a fuel. Now, what is idle fuel? Which fuel can be called as an idle fuel? So, the fuel which fulfills all the requirements for a particular use. Okay, the fuel which fulfills all the requirement, whatever we want. If the fuel is fulfilling those needs, if the fuel is fulfilling those requirements, then such a fuel can be called as an idle fuel. Okay, best fuel for us, the idle fuel for us, which fulfill all the requirements. Whatever we want, if it is possible with that fuel, that means it's an idle fuel. Okay. Now let us see some of the characteristics of the idle fuel. The question comes on this topic, students. Okay, write the characteristics of an idle fuel. So first thing which the idle fuel should fulfill is it should be readily available. It should be easily available to us. Okay, the fuel should not be that we are searching for a month or 2 months and we are not getting the fuel and we are sitting without eating only then. No. Okay, so the first requirement is that it should be easily available to each and every one. Then second thing, it is less expensive. It should be cheap in price. It should not be very expensive that no one can afford it. Fine, so it should be less expensive. Then third, it burns easily in air at a moderate rate. Its ignition temperature should be low. Fine, its ignition temperature should be low. It should not take half an hour or 1 hour to start burning that fuel. Fine, so its ignition temperature should be low and it should easily burn in the air. Then fourth one is it should produce a large amount of heat. This is very important requirement. Fuel must give a large amount of heat. Then it can be transported easily. Okay, it should be easy for us to transport it. Then it has high calorific value. The idle fuel must have high calorific value. High calorific value means little amount of fuel must give more heat and light. Okay, so that is called high calorific value. High value of energy given by the fuel. Then it does not leave behind any undesirable substance. This is also very important. Okay, after burning the fuel, no undesirable product should be produced. That fuel will not leave any undesirable substance after burning. Okay, so these are some of the important characteristics of the idle fuel. I'll repeat again, it should be easily available, it should be less expensive, it should easily burn, it should give us more heat, it should be transported easily, it should have a high calorific value, and it does not leave any undesirable substance after burning. Okay. Now, next is the different types of fuels. So, fuels are of different types. A fuel can be a solid fuel, it can be a liquid fuel, or it can be a gaseous fuel. So, in solid fuels, the examples are wood, coal, charcoal, they all are solid in state. Okay, then liquid fuels, you all know kerosene, petrol, diesel, they all are liquids. Then gaseous fuels, you know LPG. Okay, LPG, liquid petroleum gas, which we use at our home for cooking, that is LPG. Then see, in cylinders it is in liquid form. liquefied, as the name only suggests, liquefied petroleum gas. Okay, but once you just start the burner, it comes out in gaseous forms because it comes from a small nozzle, and when it comes out it spreads and it again converts into gaseous form. So LPG, CNG, compressed natural gas, it's also a gaseous fuel. Then biogas, hydrogen, they all are the gases which can be used as a fuel. Okay, so you can see here some solid fuel. Okay, wood and coal. Then in this lamp, kerosene is used. Then CNG can be used as a fuel. Then in petrol or diesel can be used as a fuel. Then in gaseous fuels, CNG can be used. Fine, and LPG can be used for cooking also. Okay, so these are different types of fuels. Now here also in this picture you can see different types of fuels. Okay, propane is a fuel, then coal, okay, then gases, then oil, natural oil, okay, and then you can see these are the different sources of fuel only, coal, petroleum, okay, diesels, they all are the different types of fuels. Now the next is fuel efficiency. How much efficient is the fuel is? How much important is the fuel is? What the fuel give us? How much efficient, how much capable the fuel is? So the amount of heat energy produced on complete combustion of 1 kg of a fuel is called its calorific value. Okay, so we have discussed in the points that the ideal fuel should have a high calorific value. So now we are trying to understand what is calorific value. Means if we burn 1 kg of the fuel, then the amount of heat which is given by the fuel is called the calorific value of the fuel. Okay, I'll repeat again. After burning 1 kg of the fuel, the amount of heat energy which is produced, that is called the calorific value. Okay, suppose I am burning 1 kg of coal and it is giving me some calorific value, some amount of heat. And if I burn 1 kg of petrol, then also it will give me some heat energy. So the heat energy which I am getting from coal and which I am getting from petrol, which one is higher, which is giving me more heat? So that fuel will be having more calorific value. Okay, so calorific value is always given in kilojoule per kg. Okay, because we are burning 1 kg of the fuel and it is giving us heat in the form of kilojoules. Fine, so it is kilojoules per kg is the unit of calorific value. So in the chart here you can see that cow dung cake gives us a calorific energy or value of 6000 to 8000 kilojoule per kg. Okay, it means 1 kg of cow dung cake when burns, it gives 6000 to 8000 kilojoules of the energy. Then wood, if you burn wood, it gives 1 kg of wood, then it gives 17,000 to 22,000 kilojoules energy. Okay, so you can see wood gives more energy than cow dung cakes. Okay, if you burn a coal, then 1 kg of coal when burns give 25,000 to 33,000 kilojoules of energy. Now you can see that coal has more calorific value than wood and cow dung cake. Coal is a more ideal fuel than cow dung cake and wood because it gives more energy. Fine. Petrol gives 45,000 kilojoule energy. So petrol has a high calorific value than coal. Fine. Then kerosene also gives 45,000, diesel also gives 45,000, methane gives 50,000. So methane has more high calorific value than petrol, kerosene and diesel. Okay. And here you can see hydrogen. 1 kg of hydrogen on burning gives 1,50,000 kilojoules energy. Okay, so among these all, hydrogen has the highest calorific value. It gives more and more of heat energy on burning. Okay, so this is the meaning of calorific value. Now, next is burning of fuels leads to harmful products. When we burn the fuels, it leads to harmful products. Harmful products are formed because pollution is there because of the fuels only. So you all know that carbon fuels like wood, coal, petroleum, they all contain carbon. So these carbon fuels like wood, coal, petroleum, they release unburnt carbon particles. If the oxygen supply is not sufficient, then some of the carbon which is present in these fuels remain unburnt. and that causes pollution. Okay, and these are very harmful for respiratory organs of humans. So you can see here, if such type of unburnt carbon particles come in the air, they cause air pollution, and if such polluted air is inhaled inside, it causes various types of lung infections, asthma, okay, and other respiratory problems. So incomplete combustion of these fuels gives carbon monoxide gas. Okay, when the fuel is not burned completely, so it releases carbon monoxide gas. If the fuel is completely burned, then it gives carbon dioxide. And remember, carbon monoxide is more harmful than carbon dioxide. Okay, so when the fuel is not burned properly, then carbon monoxide is formed, and this gas is very much poisonous. If this gas is spread in a room where we are sitting, it may kill us. Inhaled in a small quantity can cause even death of the person. So it is very poisonous gas. Okay, so you can see here, when the carbon monoxide is inhaled, so you know that hemoglobin is the respiratory pigment. Oxygen is carried by hemoglobin in the blood, right? So instead of oxygen, if CO, that is carbon monoxide, enters our body. So in the diagram, it is shown that these black color, they are showing carbon monoxide, and these red color balls, they are showing hemoglobin. Okay, so this is erythrocyte. Erythrocyte means RBC. This is a red blood cell. This is a red blood cell, and in the red blood cells, these red color small balls, that is hemoglobin, is present. Now when carbon monoxide enters the body, this carbon monoxide get attached to these hemoglobin particles. You can see this black color small balls get attached to the hemoglobin. Okay, and they form a compound which is called now carboxyhemoglobin. Okay, when hemoglobin and carbon monoxide combine together, they make carboxyhemoglobin. Remember, carboxyhemoglobin. And this carboxyhemoglobin is not a carrier now. So this will cause anaxemia and suffocation. Okay, this will cause suffocation in the person, and the person, if this continues for a period of time, that the person will directly die. Okay, because oxygen will not be supplied to the cells, there will be no respiration, no energy release, and the person will feel breathlessness. Okay, so the person will suffocate when carbon monoxide enters the body, because carboxyhemoglobin is formed at the place. Now this will not carry, there is no space for the oxygen, so no oxygen will be supplied to the cells in the case. Okay, and the person will die because of suffocation. Okay, now next is combustion of most fuels release CO2 gas. Okay, if the oxygen is not supplied properly to the fuel, then carbon monoxide is formed. But if the fuel is burned completely, then CO2 is formed. But this CO2 is also not very good for our health, because increased concentration of CO2 in the air is believed to cause global warming. Okay, I think in 8th standard you all, in 7th also you have studied little bit about global warming and greenhouse effect, because you all know that CO2 is a greenhouse gas, right? CO2 is a greenhouse gas. So suppose this is Earth, and during daytime what happens? Sunlight reaches the Earth, and Earth will absorb the sunlight. But during night time or evening time, this heat absorbed is started going back to the space, because the Earth will cool now. So when the Earth starts cooling, the heat which it has absorbed during the daytime, it will send that heat again into the space. But this carbon dioxide which is present in the atmosphere now will not allow this heat to go up. Okay, this CO2 will not allow these heat rays to go upside. It stops the heat rays here only. So these heat rays will remain on the surface of the Earth. They will remain here on the surface of the Earth. And this effect is called greenhouse effect. Okay, like the heat which is going out from the Earth is, catch hold in a room. So that is called the greenhouse effect. Okay, the heat will not go in the space, it will remain on the surface of the Earth, and because of that the temperature of the Earth will rise, and this is nothing but called as the global warming. Okay, so global warming is the rise in the temperature of the atmosphere of the Earth. So more the CO2 in the atmosphere, more will be the greenhouse effect, and more the greenhouse effect, more will be global warming. Okay, And sometimes when coal and diesel are burned, they release sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxide, right? Petrol engines gives off gaseous oxides of nitrogen, oxides of sulfur and nitrogen dissolve in air. So these are the harmful oxides, like oxides of nitrogen, right? Nitrogen oxides, then sulfur oxides. These are very harmful oxides. When these oxides, now when the fuel burns, these oxides are released in the air. Okay. Now when these oxides, when rain comes, these oxides will mix with water. Okay. And when these oxides mix with water, they form acids. Remember, when nitrogen oxide, sulfur oxide, carbon dioxide, when they mix with water, rainwater, they form acid. And such a rain which contains acid is called then acid rain. And you all know acid is so much harmful that acid can burn the plants, damage the buildings, and cause skin problems in humans also. Okay. So this is all about acid rain. So burning of fuels can lead to acid rains, greenhouse effect, global warming. These are the effects of burning the fuels. Then CNG is the cleaner fuel. CNG is a very good form of fuel as it releases very less amount of harmful particles. It causes very less pollution, so it is more clean fuel to be used. Now next is harmful effects of burning fuel. Here you can see that greenhouse effect, that all the CO2, this is CO2 which has stopped the heat on the earth. So because of that the temperature is rising, so the ice in the glaciers, it is melting. And when it melts, it causes flood, because all this water will come in the rivers and it will cause floods. So this is also one of the harmful effect of burning the fuels. Then next you can see here acid rain formation. You can see the industry here, and nitrogen and sulfur dioxides are released from the industries. Now when these oxides mixed with the rainwater, they form acids, and this acid rain when comes down, then it kill all the plants, animals, these aquatic animals and all. Okay, so you can see here, see how the animals are dying due to the acid rain. Okay, and you can see here the condition of the soil also because of the acid rain. So the soil also become acidic. Because of the acid rain, the soil also become acidic and it is unfit for the growth of the plants. Plants cannot grow in that acidic soil. Okay, so this is all about the lesson. So you have learned about different types of fuels, fuel efficiency, then how to stop the fire. Okay, all this is studied in the chapter, and at last harmful effects of burning the fuels. That is the very important portion. So you have to learn all the effects: greenhouse effect, global warming, melting of the ice, floods. Okay, and harmful gases are released which can even cause death, asthma, respiratory problems, right? So remember all these points. And along with that note, we'll stop here. So we have completed flame, structure of flame, fuels. Okay, so we have come to the end of the lesson. After this, I'll revise the lesson in the Google Meet also. But do read the lesson and complete the notes and the solutions which I will send you. Children, notes you can complete from the presentation slide link which is given along with the videos, right? So from there you can note down the notes. Question answers I will send you. Okay. Till then, all of you stay home and stay safe.